good evening, actually. Just wanted to go over our homework. We're going to go ahead and do this together so you can have a better understanding of using the tools as well as creating the homework assignment. Please be sure to download the homework assets files. So that what that is are the JPEG images of the background as well as the vector file that you're going to be using for this exercise. So basically, what we're going to be doing is creating a 8-inch by 8-inch 300 dpi illustration or composition basically. So in this composition, we're going to be using one background that's a rastered image, and then we're going to use another element that's going to be a vector image, and we're also going to play with some of the um, the actual layers and some overlays that you can do with the vector based images. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and right now, as you see on my screen, I have Photoshop open. So go ahead and open up your Photoshop. I do have the latest version, so I will go over some of the tools. I know with the Photoshop for Beginners PDF, some of the actual tools are in different areas, so just don't be scared to dig into it, but they're still there. They're just maybe rearranged or renamed. So again, so I'll show you exactly how you can go through that and actually find the tools that you're looking for. Okay. All right, so first thing is first, and we're going to go ahead and create a new document. So when you open up Photoshop, it's going to give you a window, and here's going to be a button here that says Create New. You're going to go ahead and click on that. Now, it'll give you all these sizes, custom sizes, different pixel size, and all this. So, and this is sometimes it saves your history. So, this is based on what you probably did in the past if you ever opened up Photoshop and did any work. So, if you don't see what you're looking for in here, you can always create it here. So, I usually keep this blank, but you can fill in the name. So this is going to be project 1. And so instead of pixels, right now it's on the pixels settings. Instead of pixels, I'm going to change this to inches. So that way I can create this at an 8-inch width and an 8-inch height. And so this is going to create a square artboard for me. And then I want to make sure it's at a 300 dpi or 300 resolution. DPI is going to be dots per inch. And so, and then also your RGB or your color mode is very important. It really depends on where this particular art piece is going to go. If this is just for on-screen digital, then you can keep it as RGB. But if you are actually trying to print this, then you want to switch it to CMYK value here. And that way, whenever you print it, it should come out pretty close to what you see on screen. Now, take in mind with screen resolution and screen color profiles, there may be a variation to your color. So be aware of that. Make sure you always print a sample before you actually print an entire job. Alright, so right now I'm just going to keep this on RGB. 8-bit is fine. You can keep that as default. I'll start with the white canvas. That's fine. You don't necessarily have to mess with advanced options, but I'm just going to twirl this down. But it does allow you to change color profiles depending on your screen. So if you have a device that helps you um, basically create your own color profile for your screen, I recommend doing that first, so that way you'll automatically program your screen to have the closest possible color to what it would come out if it was printed. So that's something that we're not going to go over in this session, but this is something just to be aware of if you do understand different color profiles. Okay, we're going to go ahead and click on create. That's going to bring up my artboard. This is the entire artboard at this point right here. And so, what we want to do first, and we're going to go over the tools palette and everything, so you'll know exactly where those items are. So, if you look over on the left hand side, you'll start to see all these tools here. These are all your tools palette where you can select different things to actually do some type of operation for the image or vector or whatever you bring into the artboard. So if we start at the top, you can actually just hold your mouse. And this is the new version. So this is 2018. I think 2017 actually did it too. But you can actually hold your mouse and it'll show you exactly what this tool does. This is great for people that are just beginning and really want to understand, okay, this tool does, okay, you understand what that tool does and you kind of go through them to understand how to use it. Now also just keep in mind that it gives you the shortcut key for selecting that particular tool. So it's V for this. So if I click away, right now I'm on the marquee tool. So if I click away and then just click on the V, it'll automatically switch it to that tool. So keep in mind that they do have shortcut keys that you can use to quickly navigate through your toolbar. Okay? So again, I want you to go ahead and just kind of scroll through. You just hold your mouse over it and it'll tell you exactly what this is. This will help you create other artboards. If you wanted, let's just say we wanted two artboards, one here and then one right beside it. You can actually click on this and create another artboard, and that'll create that for you. So, but we're not going to get into artboards just yet. But just to let you know, that is a tool for that. Again, your rectangle marquee tool, you can always click on that and you can see exactly what happens and how you can use it. You have the lasso tool, and you can see from the example how you would use it. So again, just go through each of these and just hold your mouse over it and it'll tell you. Now, if you look right here, this little bitty triangle down right beside the tool, that means that there's more to that tool. There's more tools inside of this tool. So if you right click, it'll show you all the rest of the tools within this toolkit. Or if you just click and hold, it does the same thing. So you can either click and hold or right click and it'll give you those options. Same thing for these. So if you see that little triangle at the corner, then you can just click, right click, and then you see the other options in that toolkit. All right, and the same thing, if you hold your mouse over some of these, it may not show you an example, but for the most part, you can use these. And if you hold your mouse here, it gives you examples of what this particular toolkit can do. So basically the cropping, if you wanted to crop images, if you wanted to slice them, like slice square and crop from there, you can do those options. And then so the slice tool and the slice select. So basically selecting the sliced areas that you actually sliced up. So those, it gives you some options for that. Okay, so like I said, go through these, and then also this three dots right here. This just lets you know that there are more tools. There are more tools than this, but just putting every tool on the toolbar would make this very long. So what they did was basically, if you click and hold, you can see all the other tools that you can select. And then again, you can kind of go through these and see exactly what they do. Now, I will tell you about a few. We'll go over a few during other lessons so you'll understand how to use it. But what I recommend is also looking at the Photoshop for Beginners PDF. It'll take you through some of these options as well. Okay? All right, so moving on, we're going to have the color palette options here. So you always have to remember the color that's on top is your foreground, and the color behind it is your background. So your foreground color, and foreground is means what's in front. So if I were to get the let's see here, I'm gonna get the paint bucket tool. Let's see, here we go, paint bucket. And so if I have this color here already selected, if I fill this area, it's gonna fill with the foreground color. Now if I switch them, so you can actually do a switch on your foreground and background. If you switch it, then when I come in and fill this area, it'll fill with the foreground. So it'll always fill with the foreground area, or with the foreground color. Okay. Now, if you don't want these to be the foreground color, if you want to go to the default, which is black and white, you can just click this and it'll default your foreground and your background to the black and white. So you can click here, and that'll also allow you to use the color picker to choose a color. So you can use your scale here to figure out what hue you want to actually use, and then you come here and then you can start to see what shade of that hue you want to use. Okay, so let's click that, and then you just click OK. And then now that I have the new color, I can come in and fill it. All right, perfect. So like I said, you can switch between colors. um, And let's just say if you wanted to add another artboard, you can change the background to a certain color and make sure that artboard comes out. It should come out the actual color that you set. And we'll try that in a little bit later during other sessions, okay? All right, so you've seen all the tools, like I said, clicking on them and kind of watching the video to see exactly what they do. Now, besides the tools, you'll have over here, or actually above, is going to be your properties for that particular tool that you use. So when you click on each of these, you see it change. Like at the top here, it changes. So depending on what tool you're on, it changes appropriately. So whenever you have these changes, you can just kind of hold your mouse over it and it'll tell you exactly what that is. You can align top edge, you can align vertical center. So it really depends on what's available in that tool. And so if I had an image in here, if I pulled an image in here, and if I'm on the move tool, let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna pull an image here. Let's use that. And I'll show you how to import these just like I did. But right now I have the move tool, so I can move this around, you know, and then if I wanted to, let's just say I wanted to make this center. I want this to be exact center of this square. So if I know that I'm using the square as my outer border, then what I'm gonna do is grab this rectangle marquee tool. I'm gonna grab this, and what I'm gonna do is start in the corner, and you're gonna click and drag completely through. So corner to corner, and then you just let it go. So now you see the little marching ants. They call them marching ants. You see that going around the actual artboard. Now that constrains your art, like anything inside, it constrains it within that area. So I'm gonna go back to the move tool, and now you can see these light up. These are a little bit lighter than these. I can't select these now because they're grayed out, but these I can now select. So what I want to do, I want to center it. So if you hold your mouse over it, it says align horizontal center, and horizontal left and right. So it should align it directly with the floor, like here. So let's go ahead and click on that. You can see that move. And now I want to align it vertically, so up and down, and it should also go to 4. Center should be 4. So go ahead and do that. Perfect. So now it's exactly center. So, and if that was something that we were working with, we would just have to make sure that, um, we center that and do whatever we need to do with that object or image. All right, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that. All right. So again, just go through your tools and you can see the different properties that it will bring up for that particular tool. Okay. All right, so moving on over on the right hand side, you're going to see more tools that you can use. And these tools are based on different things. So it works in conjunction with your tools on your left. You're most likely going to be using the tools on your left more than the right side. Now, when you get over to your right side, these are like adjustments that you can make to a layer or an image or a vector. So it just really depends on what you're trying to do. So again, so just like how I brought this up for the color picker, you can do the same thing by just selecting color over here. Color will also give you the ability to choose your foreground color and your background color. So as you can see that it changes over here too. Okay. This is your history. This is going to be important too. So it only, depending on your system, and let's see, I'll show you. Let's see. All right. So in this area under performance, it shows you how many history states you will see in this area. So history states basically I can see 50. So when I make 50 moves, 50 actions on this artboard, it will no longer go like it will start dropping off the first one. So like if this is the 51st move, then this one would just drop off. So you wouldn't be able to go back to this particular state. You would have to go back to the original, or you would need to go to the next best thing. So, so this allows you to go to 50, but you can raise that to go as many as you need to, or up to 1,000. I'm sorry. So, but I'm gonna leave this on 50. Let's just type it in, and I'm just gonna cancel out. Okay, so again, this is your history. So if you needed to go back to something, like you see how I brought that picture back to alignment, back to where it's off center, back to the move tool, back to that, and then back to new. So it took me all the way back here before I put the image on. So remember, you can go through the history to go back to what you need. Another option would be to go to edit and undo. You can always go to undo, but this is going to undo the previous state. So if whatever I do is going to undo one time back. So if you're looking at the history palette, it's only going to go one time back. Now, if you're looking at the history palette and you know you need to go back up to this state, my recommendation is using the history and then just clicking on that, and then instantly you're at that point. Okay. All right, your swatches. This is where you can actually create your own swatch palette. We're going to go over that a little bit later, but these are colors that you can use and set up your own color palette. So that way, all you have to do is just come over here and quickly choose the color that's in your color palette and be able to use that in your artwork. Your brushes are going to be also painting brushes, different things you can do on the canvas itself. And so we're going to go over the brush tool. A lot of people will do digital painting in here. You can also do like effects and shine and blings and all kinds of stuff using brushes. And that's something we're going to go over a little bit later. Again, this is another brush area to where you can actually load other brushes or create a new brush. Adjustment layers or adjustments. Basically, this allows you to do specific adjustments to images, anything that's on a layer that's below this adjustment layer. So when you click on it, it's going to add a layer here, but it's going to affect anything below it. So keep that in mind. Anything below it is going to affect it unless you nest it into that particular image. But we'll go over that a little bit later as well. Okay, and you have effects and styles. So if I have a square here, I can take a style and drag and drop it, and it will create that effect on top of that particular square. So, and then you can go through some options to see how it would affect the square. So, again, this gives you the ability to create custom backgrounds, do some interesting things to add texture. So, you got a lot of different options in here. And then you can still add even more actual styles. That's one option that's already preloaded with Photoshop. Now, if you have custom styles or styles that you purchase, you can actually load those styles in here and they'll appear where you can click on them. Alright, so let's go back in our history. Okay, and then your info. So your info tells you, your RGB colors for a particular, if you hold your mouse over a particular object or whatever, it'll give you that information. Same thing for CMYK. The X and Y value gives you the X and Y value of your mouse, of your cursor. So if I am right here, it should be 0, 0. Let's see if I can get it. No, maybe not. But it's close to 0, 0. So, but anyway, and if I had a square here, if I draw it, you see how the width and height over here, it starts to move. It tells you what size that is. So you can kind of get it around the size that you're looking for and just let go. Okay. All right. Perfect. So again, you have other palettes here. You can always remove these palettes and kind of rearrange them any way you see fit. And so these can all just kind of come off of here. And if I didn't want a particular palette, I could just go ahead and X out of it. So I do want my palette to be in a certain way. So maybe I'll have, let's see. Okay, so whenever you are actually trying to add different palettes in different areas, you want to click and drag it, and you see how it turns blue. What it'll do if it turns blue like that, it's going to add a different tab. But I want this section to be entirely above it. So now it's a small strip above the layers palette. I just click and drop it. So now it creates its own section. So along with character, maybe I want this tab to be together. So now this has two tabs. And properties may be its own section. So I'll come here and make it its own section. I'll add libraries to that, and layer comps. I may add that into where layers is. So, and then you'll have two tabs there. So once you have kind of your palettes the way you want it, you can actually come here to Window and workspace and just do a new workspace, and it'll save the way you want it to look when you open up Photoshop. Okay. Now, if you want to go back to the default, you can always reset it. So you can reset the default and it'll do what it needs to do and it'll convert back to the way it was. Okay. If you want to try other palettes, you can also come here to workspace and choose some of the custom palettes that is already installed into Photoshop. Alright, perfect. So another thing you want to do, just go through these top tools right here. So file, edit, image, layer. Just read through these just to see exactly what each thing does. So, and then over on the right of it here, it gives you the shortcut keys. So that's important to remember. So you can look through here just to see what's in these sections because we will be referencing some of these sections as we go through the lesson. Okay, so go through those, just take a look. You don't have to click on anything in particular. Okay, so what we're going to do now is go ahead and import one of the images that we're going to use for the background. So that's going to be that background image that's currently in the student portal. So make sure you download that. And what we're going to do is go ahead and grab that. So you got two ways. You can actually come here to File and Import. And if you don't want to do it that way, you can actually, another way to do it is you can just open it. Okay. So if you want to open it, you find the file that you're looking for. And then I'm going to go ahead and open. So what that's going to do is open up another tab. It's almost like another project. So it opens up another tab and it opens it up full screen or full width of that particular image. Now, one thing that I can do, I can actually get the move tool and I can click and drag it until this switches to the other tab, and then I can let go and it drops it into that actual artboard. I can do it that way. Now again, let's do that one more time. I'm going to dump this. So when I'm on this, basically I'm clicking one time on the image and I'm dragging it to this tab, and then I'm dragging it back to the artboard and letting go. And now it appears on that artboard. Now, if you don't want to do it that way, while Photoshop is open, just go ahead and go down and open up a new window. And if you're on a Mac, you're just gonna, I'm sorry, on a PC, just gonna open up just a regular window. You can go to My Documents or whatever. So you can open that up. Find where you saved the photo. Find where you saved the photo. What you're going to do is click on the file and you're going to drag it in. Just click and drag. And that drops it in as a linked image. So it's going to give you this little X. You see this little X here, and it has like little handles on the side. It makes your cursor change arrows. Okay. What this means is that you're placing an image and you need to tell it how big you want it, and if you want it to be completely straight, or if you want it to rotate it, or what you want to do with it. So you really need to find out exactly where you want it to sit. So what I want to do, I want to make it cover the entire palette. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a corner, and in order for me to keep the actual proportions of the image, I'm going to hold the shift button. That's going to keep the proportions the same. So all I got to do is hold shift while I click and drag on the corner and drag up until I get to the top. And I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom. I'm going to drag down until get to the bottom. And so that enlarged the image and it took over the entire artboard. So that's exactly what I wanted to do. Now, I may want to adjust this to maybe slide it over. Now, when you slide it over, you can just click and drag it over. But if you wanted to make sure it stays in line so it doesn't shift up or down, you can hold the shift button while you're dragging over. And now it makes it a smooth left and right. You can drag smoothly left and right. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just move this over a little bit, and that's a good area. So what I can do now is go ahead and either hit this check mark to basically commit to the transfer that I just did. I can commit hitting this, or I can hit enter. So I'm just gonna hit enter to go ahead and commit to that. So now I have the image covering the entire artboard, and um, and now that's going to be my background. Although I have a background layer here, I'm actually making this my background. So technically, if you wanted to, you can actually get rid of this. So you can just dump that in the trash. So now this is my actual background. Okay. And if you want to label your layers, which I do recommend, just double click on the actual name and rename it to say background. So this way it keeps it a little bit more organized when you start to really have a lot of layers. You want to stay as organized as possible. All right, so the next thing you want to do, once you have that set, the next thing you want to do is bring in your vector file. So if you go to, again, I'm going to pull from the folder, the homework folder. And so this 136.eps is my vector file. So I'm going to place that on top of my background. So I'm going to click and drag it, and it pops in. Right now it's top to bottom, so that's perfect. And so you see where it cuts off right here. So I want to just move that over to the left. So that way it looks like it cuts off right at that edge. And I want to save a little bit of room over here for some text. So I'm just going to keep pushing right about there. And again, so I have the exact areas, exact place I want to actually commit to. So again, you can either hit enter or you can hit the check mark. So I'll go ahead and hit check mark this time. So that places that there. So now you have a rastered image in the background, but a vector image on top. So this is how you can merge the two. Once we start doing work in Illustrator, you can create some things in Illustrator and save them, and then you can actually import them into Photoshop. Now, why would I do that? So sometimes there are effects and different things that you can do in Photoshop that you can't do in Illustrator. So in this particular case, what I want to do is mess with some of the adjustment layers or the blending modes. So you can mess with the blending modes to make this do certain things. So right now, I have this layer selected. This is the vector layer here. Okay. So what I want to do is select the blending mode. And if you click on normal, it gives you a drop down button or a drop down window of all the layer modes that you can choose from. And you can go through them just to see exactly what it does to the actual images. So you just really kind of find exactly the look and feel that you would like it to look like. In this case, I kind of already know. So it's either between overlay or soft light. So what I probably do is stick it on overlay, and it's just a little bit too bright for me, so I'm gonna lower the opacity, and that's basically making it more see-through, and just doing it just like that. And I'm just gonna take mine down to maybe a 70. Okay, make sure this layer is selected because if it's not, then you may be affecting the background layer. So make sure you always have the selected layer, the layer selected, and then that's when you can mess with the blending modes and the opacity. Okay, so once I have that in place, that looks good. I like the blending mode, I like everything. So now what I want to do is add some text. So let's use the text tool. You can see the T for text, so or type. So just click on the type tool. And the cool thing about Photoshop, you have two ways to actually create this. You can either one, click, and you will see your cursor there, so you can just start typing, or you can click and drag and create a text box. And so now when I type in this area, it automatically stays within that area, right? Now, if I just click and do the same thing, it just continues on and on and on and on. Okay, so what I want to do is go ahead and just create a text box. Actually, I take that back. I'm not going to create a text box because these are just going to be single words. And so I'm going to do one here. And let's do live. And so I want to go ahead and enlarge the size of that. So you have two areas. You can do this at the top. Remember, when you select the tool, you always have more properties up here. So you can select that and choose what font size you want it to be. Go a little bit bigger. All right, maybe a different color. So let's say hot pink. Okay, maybe let's change fonts. And you may not have the same fonts like I do, but just go through your fonts, see what you like, and then that looks good. So I'm gonna commit to this. So again, you have the check mark, or you can just come over here and click on the layer. Now, if you clicked enter, what that's gonna do is make it go to the next line. So it's just like when you're typing in Word, it's gonna just move it to the next line. So the only time you cannot commit to a specific thing is when you're in the type option, because when you hit the enter, it's gonna make it move to the next line. Okay. Now, okay, so that's the first word. So now I'm gonna do another one. Let's say live, and we're gonna say laugh. And I'm gonna do this all caps, but I'm gonna change the font. Let's do something. Let's do Avenir. Okay. And let's change color. Alright, so, and you can do these any color you want. You don't have to use the same thing. So I'm just gonna set this right here. And so, and these are the little things that I like to look at. So I see that the L swoops down here and it's underneath. So what I would probably do is rearrange the layers. So laugh is here, live is here. So I can click here and drag and bring that forward. So basically what I did was, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to put laugh underneath live. So I click here, drag it underneath, and now live is on top. Now, I'm gonna show you a little advanced trick because I just like this little style. So what I want to do is mask some of this because, and let's zoom in. So in order to zoom, you can hit Control or Command if you're on a Mac, but if you're on PC, hit Control plus. So Control plus will get you closer into what you want to look for. Now Control minus will get you back. It'll start backing you out. And Control 0 will make it go like full screen top to bottom. Okay? All right, so another option would be hold the space bar and then the control button, and now you get this little magnifying glass, and you can zoom in and out just by clicking and dragging up and down, basically. Either up and down, left and right, up and down. I know that's getting kind of making me sick. Okay, so you have those options. So what I wanted to do is kind of get close in on this. If you hold the space bar, you can kind of scroll yourself over, or if you have a mouse that lets you scroll back and forth, you can do it that way too. Now, I wanted to get close to this because I want the L to overlap, but I want it to go underneath the H. All right, so I'm gonna still need to get a little bit closer so I can see what that looks like. So now what I need to do is delete this section right here so it makes it look like it's going underneath that letter. All right, so instead of like erasing it, like getting an eraser tool and erasing it, I don't want to do that. That's destroying the image. So I want to mask it. So when I mask, they have a masking tool, which is here. So I want to make sure the layer is selected, and then I want to click on the layer mask here. And now what I want to do is use my brush tool. This is the brush tool. I want to use this brush tool. Now the size of it may be too big for you to see. Right now you can't see the circle. So what I'm going to do is come here and bring this size all the way down. So when I come here, I can see it. Alright, so I want to go smaller. Now another cool thing to do, if you don't want to do it that way, quick tool, is the open bracket tool. So look on your keyboard. It's right next to the P. It's an open bracket and a closed bracket. If you do the open bracket, it shrinks the brush size. If you do the closed bracket, it makes it larger. So you can switch between them really quickly. Okay? So now what I want to do is, like I said, I want to take this area out. So I'm going to mask it. So I'm just going to brush it out. Just brush it out like I'm painting over it. Okay? So I'll just go ahead and start. Just click one time and just brush that out. Cool. So now it has that effect like it's going underneath it and continuing on. So now I'm going to back out completely so you can see the full composition. So live, laugh, and let's put love. And so I don't want that font. I want to try something else. And let's see. Something fun. Let's see. Let's see. Maybe I do want to do something a little bit like a serif. And we'll go over fonts as well, so you'll know a little bit more about serif versus sans serif. Let's see. And this is something I kind of do. I'll go through my fonts to see exactly what looks good, what kind of goes together. Sometimes you may choose something that may not go with what you have. So I'm gonna go with a Garamond, and let's change the color on that. Maybe a white. Okay. And so maybe I overlap that a little bit. Let's see how that looks. That's not bad. And so I want to go back, make sure this is selected. I want to get my move tool and you can move it around to see placement wise, what does that look like? Okay, I like how it lines up on the end. I like how it joins the A and the U. So you're looking for things that create other elements. So like the joining of letters, or overlapping and going underneath. So whatever makes the balance happen. And another reason why I wanted to shift this is because there's more weight on this end than this. So if I have the love over here, so if I put love here, it seems like it has more weight on the left, so the balance is off. So what I want to do is create the balance, because now this has visually, this has enough like of a balance on weight on this side and weight on this side, that it looks like it can work. So that's pretty much it. You can also play with other effects. They have, like, if you double click on, let's just say we double click on laugh, let's add a glow. So if you double click on the layer laugh, and you go down to outer glow, you can actually add a glow to the lettering itself. This is how they add effects and different things to your artwork. And so you can actually play with these if you wanted to. You can see what type of effects it makes. You can increase the lighting. You can increase the spread. So you can play with these options if you wanted to. I'm just going to leave these alone. But anyway, so that's basically the homework. So go ahead and just make sure you follow along with this and just build this out. So we're basically placing a rastered image on top of a vector image. Now, again, be sure to review the previous movie about raster versus vector. We did not talk about the resolution of these images that we've used, but always keep that in mind. Okay. All right, I appreciate it. Just make sure you go ahead and save this document. You can go to File, Save As, find a location that you want to save this, which is in the homework folder. I'm going to call it Project 1. Go ahead and save. Hit OK. And also save this as a JPEG image. So again, you go to File, Save As, where it says Format, you're going to switch format to JPEG. And now that it's a JPEG, just hit save. And then the quality, I want the quality to be at the max, 12. Everything else is fine, you don't have to mess with. Just go ahead and hit OK. And that's it. Alright, make sure you go ahead and turn that in. You can just turn it into the assignment project in the student portal. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. If you get stuck on anything, let me know. If you feel like getting a little bit more creative, go ahead. Just let me see what you can do. And if you need me, you can always reach out by email or phone. All right, it was a pleasure. And if you have any questions, just get in contact with me. All right, I will talk to you soon.